What's going on, wrestling fans? It is I, Steve Fall, and welcome to 10 Count. On today's edition, I am talking to the reigning and defending NXT champion, Carmelo Hayes. How are you doing today?
Amazing, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Talking to the champ right now.
Yeah.
And there's so much happening in the world of yours in NXT because you're coming to Lowell, Massachusetts, May 28th, NXT Battleground in Lowell, Massachusetts. Not too far away from you. You're from Framingham, Massachusetts. How's this
Correct.
feel coming home? Because you're defending the championship, not just in front of a WWE audience. It's in
Right.
front of your family and friends.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel comfortable. I feel like I've been here before. So it's like you're not gonna catch me out of my comfort zone. Also, on top of that, I put in a lot of work here before I got signed to WWE. So, there's a fan base that's here that has yet to see me as Carmelo Hayes, especially as NXT champion. So it's a very kind of homecoming feeling, a very comfortable feeling. But the big focus at hand is Bron Breakker still. I won't let that lose sight of that.
Yeah, that Bron Breakker, he's a bad guy, spelling his name with two Ks and
Yeah,
Breaker.
right. What's up
Come
with
on.
that, man?
As the Hurricane would say, what's up with that? Because it's a bit of a heelish move. But in reality, when you're coming here for NXT Battleground, and what can fans expect? Because again, I was at Stand and Deliver in LA watching you win that gold. How did that feel when that 3 count happened? Because all the hard work, the validation finally must have been, oh, I feel good.
Yeah, yeah. There was a moment leading up to it. I told myself, I said, I'm gonna live in this moment because you don't get very many of those like type of moments. I said, I'm gonna freaking live in that. And I remember sitting there. I think they caught it on TV when as we were closing out, and I was on the turnbuckle, and I looked up, I said, man, I worked so freaking hard for this. And I looked down at the title, and it was caught on TV. But then after we went off air, I remember sitting on the ring apron and just reflecting and just thinking of like the journey it took to get there. Everybody screaming Mello. It was just like surreal, man. You really can't even, now that I'm speaking it out loud, it's almost like I'm feeling it again. Once in a lifetime experience. So, I mean, I'm just so grateful that I got to do that.
I know it must be hard to walk away from the ring after such a moment and try to bottle that up because it's hard to compare.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You look forward to the next one, and just getting back to work. Me, as soon as it's done, it's like, okay, that was a great moment, But now, like, the real work starts. You win the championship, the real work starts, man.
Yeah, defending the gold in Battleground against Bron Breakker. What can fans expect from this matchup? Because we've already seen it once. And now Bron, he keeps
Yeah,
trying to get your number, even going to the barbershop where you go. That's
and
not cool. That's not cool.
it's not cool, And I think that this is beyond the championship at this point. And I said before, he's thrived more without this championship. He doesn't want this championship. He wants to hurt me, and he wants to embarrass me in front of my friends and my family. And there is a competition as to who the guy is, who's number one, who's number two. I always thought I was number one. He's always thought he was number one. And I am number one, and he still thinks he's number one. And I think that we need to put that conversation to rest. So at NXT Battleground, who the real number one is, undisputed. That's where really we're going to find out.
Hey, man, you're the champ. So in my book, number one,
Yeah,
number one. And obviously you're going to beat Bron at
obviously.
Battleground May 28th on Peacock. I'm excited for that. That's so exciting. But
Yes.
with recently, NXT has left the Performance Center area. It's been going on the road for their big premium live events.
Right.
But, there's only a few every year. Should fans expect maybe more of these? Because on Sunday, May 28th, that's happening. But the night before, you have, King of the Ring, Night of Champions in Jeddah. But
Yeah.
yet, could we see more NXT premium live events maybe moving to Saturday? Because I know Saturday is a hot ticket these days.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the market of wrestling in total, it's thriving right now, and it's more popular than ever. If you look at the numbers as far as like what live events are doing with WWE, especially with these PLEs, like we're breaking all sorts of records left and right. So I think the market is hot right now, and I think that we're going to capitalize on that. NXT, WWE, everybody.
Now, with everybody involved in professional wrestling and the WWE especially, the competition is always going to be fierce. And moving to Saturdays with the premium live events with NXT, I think that'd be great. Plus, you already have WWE doing this with Raw and SmackDown events. But with Raw and SmackDown having the draft recently, Grayson Waller, you had the current NXT Women's Tag Team Champions and the Women's Champion called up. Was there any I don't know, sad feelings inside you not hearing your name drafted? You are a champion, I understand, but at the same time, that is the end goal, I imagine.
No sad feelings. At the end of the day, when you're thinking about a draft, right, you're thinking about getting the very best that there is to offer. So it was a little surprising, that a couple of names weren't mentioned. Not saying that those guys aren't great talents and those girls aren't great talents, because they are, and they deserve that main roster. But I think I have unfinished business here. And I think that I'm totally okay with holding it down in NXT. And this is what I asked for. This is what I wanted. I wanted to be the face of the brand, and I wanted to be the champion and defend this championship and take it to newer heights and newer levels. So this was kind of right on pace for me. Moving up to main roster, it's a goal of mine, obviously, but it's not going anywhere. And I'm only going to be better. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
having these defenses are only going to make me sharper, only going to make me better. So I'm looking forward to when the time comes. But right now, I'm doing my thing.
Outstanding. Now, I was in Puerto Rico for Backlash with Bad Bunny and Damian Priest tearing down the house.
Yeah,
Now, they're celebrities for a long time were shunned upon. For the wrestling community was like, oh, don't take their spot. But yet, Bad Bunny, Logan Paul, there's so many who are delivering. Now, is there someone that out there in the celebrity world that you want to come into NXT to take on one-on-one, even defend your gold?
No, because I'll tell you why. Not everybody is eligible to wrestle for the NXT championship. You know what I mean? If it took me as long as it did, nobody's gonna come in off the street and just come in here and go straight to the top. I mean, yeah, you could dream match scenario a lot of things, but in reality, you have to be of a certain caliber to go against the champion. And respectfully, nobody from outside is of the same caliber of something that I do day in and day out.
Wow. I did not expect you not to throw out a name. But hey, I get it. Logan Paul fought Roman Reigns for that championship. Did Logan Paul deserve that spot? And I guess that's the argument we could have until the end of time. But yet, in reality, I know that you have such an influence on so many children in the world. And one teacher, Victor Perry, Chip Amp, Middle School, the Wrestling Club. When I told Victor Perry from the Wrestling Club that I was going to talk to you, boom, minds were blown. People were excited, so they sent me a question, so I got to submit it. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Of course. They love you. Honestly, every time I talk to them, they absolutely love you. So they want to know if you could go back in time and give the 12-year-old Carmelo Hayes any advice, what would it be?
Continue to do it the way that you want to do it. Because there's so many times, man, where you question if, you listen to somebody else's advice and you question. That's the one thing about me is I always bet on myself. Sometimes I might have made it harder for myself, but I still ended up where I needed to be because I bet on myself and I chose not to, I don't want to tell them not to conform in a way, but, I chose to just do what I believed in. I chose, and as cliche as it sounds, I chose to follow my heart and I chose to just trust the process. So just trust the process and kind of do things. Again, now I'm talking to 12-year-old, so it's gonna be received different. But now that I know what I know and I'm where I am, it's like I'm so happy that I just trusted myself and I just did things my way, whether or not it made it harder on myself or not. I might have went around the block to cross the street, but I still got here.
Those kids from Kippet Middle School, the Wrestling Club, absolutely adore you. They love you.
Adore them.
So they're gonna love when they play that video of them watching you answer their question and post that on Twitter. The world's going to melt because there's always gloom dooming scrolling, but yet when kids react to seeing their favorites answer questions, I think that is just a highlight of the day. So hopefully they really enjoyed this. It's gonna be awesome. But with Battleground May 28th, Lowell, Massachusetts on Peacock, again, we talked about premium live events traveling around. Do you think NXT, the weekly shows on Tuesdays on USA, should leave and go travel more?
Yeah, yes and no. And the only reason I say yes and no is because the environment and the organic feel that we have inside of the performance center, that crowd helps the show in a lot of ways. And if you think about us going on the road, you almost have to reintroduce yourself to a new audience in a lot of ways, because we're not big TV stars yet as far as like main roster goes. So a lot of people are still learning us. A lot of people are still new to us. So it benefits us being at the performance center and performing in front of a similar crowd who are familiar with our stories. And it's also special to them because they get to watch, brand new talent come from the bottom and work their way up. Like I remember when they were chanting, "Who are you?" at me. And now, you know what I mean? Now they chant my name, every time I come out. So it's that type of relationship that you get to build with talent, with the crowd. But I mean, as far as like, I think that traveling, that's main roster. You get the main roster and you get that luxury of working in front of different crowds. But NXT, I think we're just still working out, honing our craft, and keeping it kind of contained in a way.
I would love to see, your answer makes complete sense about, developing your skills in front of an audience. But at the same time, working in front of a new audience in my book is like, oh, well, they booed me here tonight. They cheered me there.
Yeah.
And you learn to develop, obviously. But I'm not a wrestler. So these are just words spilling out of my mouth versus you who have worked off your butt to get where you are today as the reigning and defending NXT World Champion. So obviously, you have a whole different perspective.
We do have live events though, so we do.
Of course.
We have opportunities to learn that, just not televised, but we do get to like work in front of different. So we are kind of just a little bit getting that sort of new comfortability with different crowds. So yeah.
Yeah. Watching it on TV, though, the judgmental eye of an audience versus going to a live event, which I can't see. Sure. So I have no idea if they're, oh, he's a champ. Are they booing him? Are they cheering him? Are they buying his merch? Like I can't see that versus if we went to different towns, which would be great. But anyways, NXT is still doing a fantastic job, especially with you as the face of the brand. Is there someone that you're eyeballing in NXT? Because Bron, we've seen Bron, and Bron has established himself as a superstar in NXT and beyond, I believe. Is there someone that you look at and go, man, once the fire gets started, this person's going to just be the next face once you are, I guess, moving on?
Yeah, absolutely. It's Dragon Lee. For me, it's Dragon Lee. He's great. He's fantastic. And I'm a fan of his work. And, I think he's somebody that I like to get in the ring with. I think I'd have great chemistry with him. I think that he would push me to my limit. And being the NXT champion, that's kind of what I wanted out of this. I just wanted the very best of the best. And I consider him there's many guys, but, he's somebody that I look at and consider probably one of the best that we have.
Yeah. Agreed. And now, a couple more questions. One, recently you were on Corey Graves' podcast and you were asked about what you said to Shawn Michaels about how you didn't want to be a 205 live guy. And have you heard really any rumblings on that comment? Because at the time, I agree, where you just look at 205 live, and in the beginning, perspective is one thing, eventually it turned into another thing. But you sticking up for yourself, not walking on eggshells, telling them how you really feel, obviously opened the doors for respect, first off, and your progress. So when you said that, what were you thinking when you first said it to Shawn Michaels? Because I can imagine that could have gone sour.
I was getting ready to leave the building. He was walking out of the bathroom. And this was the day of my debut, so I'd had pretty much no credibility except for the one match I had. And he had made a comment to me. And then I had just like gone off the comment and just like, thank you, and we had like a small little conversation. And I just mentioned to him my goals, like, and my aspirations. And it just came to me. It wasn't something like I hadn't had it planned. I just was like, I really want this for myself. And I really want to, that everyone takes that 205. Like I was like saying, maybe is degrading to be on 205. It wasn't even that at all. It was just that I knew how easily you can kind of get, typecasted for being undersized or maybe like not taken as, serious. I just knew. I was like, no, I'm not, I'm championship material and I'm top guy material. And that's pretty much how I said that. I was like, I want to be a top guy. And he's like, I see that for you too. And that was day one. And that was our first conversation. So that's why I think and he's still to this day, he's like, this is what you wanted. I'm like, yeah, I did. So, I did. It was just kind of fate, and I'm so happy that I did that. I'm so proud of myself that I did that, and looking back at it now, when I tell that story, I'm kind of like, man, if I didn't do that, what would have happened? I think I still would have been okay. I truly do. I believe in myself that much, but I just questioned that moment. I'm like, wow, whatever came over me, thank God it did.
Indeed, because you always hear stories of people walking on eggshells with any company. It doesn't matter, wrestling or McDonald's. You don't go up to your manager and say these things, and it could go really
boss.
it could go really bad. It could go really
Good
bad, but
job.
here
Yeah,
you are as NXT champion. One final question, though. The
yeah,
NXT coming to Lowell, Massachusetts for a premium live event. Again, go back. You were at Stand and Deliver, Los
yeah,
Angeles, and the Carolinas before that.
yeah.
Where do you want NXT to go next for a premium live event? Because, again, the WWE is going to Jeddah, London, Detroit. These are huge locations and avenues. Is there somewhere that you want to go? Japan, Mexico, New
Yeah,
Zealand.
I was just gonna say Japan, Mexico, like UK, anywhere overseas would be amazing. Just because we do have a market. NXT does have a big market in the UK, and overseas. And I get a lot of times, when I do interviews with people from the UK, oh, we can't wait to have you, we can't wait to have you. And I don't know if that's going to be a main roster thing but I'd love to be able to be the first to bring NXT. I'm not sure if they've done NXT at all ever out of America. Do you know?
Of in the UK?
Did they?
I think they were supposed to. Then COVID took over, and they're supposed to have
Yeah, I almost
another
remember.
Worlds Collide event between
Yeah,
NXT UK and NXT. I guess we'll call
right.
that US. But yeah, there was a completely different situation there. Obviously, COVID ruined a lot of things for a lot
Yeah,
of people, but
yeah.
luckily, that's that heelish move is gone.
So
But
anywhere in Europe would be great. Like I said, even like Japan would be so cool. Even if we were to piggyback off of like a PLE, a main roster or something, would be amazing.
I love it. Let's just do it. Let's just have SmackDown, WWE main roster, NXT, Raw, all in the same place. That would be lovely. Go back to
Yeah,
2020. I had tickets for SummerSlam for SmackDown, NXT, SummerSlam.
yeah.
You know what happened? The world shut down. So then that ticket went out of the window. But in all, the ticket for NXT Battleground will be one you have to get now because main roster. Calling you? I don't think so. We're going to go to Lowell for Battleground, you versus Bron Breakker. One final thought. When you're heading into this, what is your strategy against Bron? Because every time I've seen this happen to you recently, you go for a springboard, he spears you. Springboard, he spears you. How are we going to skip the spear part and do the springboard?
And it works.
And it
Right.
works.
There's a strategy, and the strategy I think is something that I'm not going to say out loud, but I know truly, I know kind of my game plan going into this match with Bron. Like him and I had that one match. I figured out a lot about Bron. I figured out a lot of his weaknesses, and I think he's figured out a couple of mine. There's not very many, but yeah, he has figured out my springboard weakness. He's got that reversal down pat. So I got a game plan, and I think that this one is going to be something that people can look forward to and be more memorable, even than the one that I when I won this championship in LA.
I
So
can't wait.
yeah.
I can't wait because again, when I saw that happen, it was like 9 a.m. versus happening at 8 o'clock at night. So completely different time zones and different areas. But I am so excited for NXT Battleground, May 28th on Peacock. You defending your goal against Bron Breakker. We're gonna crown a new NXT Women's Champion. There's so much happening at this event, so check it out on Peacock again, May 28th, to see you defend your championship. I've been Steve Fall. He's been the reigning and defending NXT champion, Carmelo Hayes. Have a great day, folks. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.